everybody, and welcome to the Dead Unicorn Tabletop Role-Playing Game Club. My name is Corey, and today we're picking apart Pathfinder 2nd Edition. It's been a long time coming. I wanted to do this a long time ago, but they're like, we don't want to read the entire book. We don't have to. Like, we have run this game a lot. I have played in a bunch of Pathfinder games. Tarek has tried to run it twice with me and failed both times. I would love for Alkenstar to come back, my friend.
I would love at that as well. We can figure out a way. I love Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I love Pathfinder as a system, period.
Yes.
Since back in the olden days. So 100% we should be able to go through this and give it a whirl.
I got the player's core up here, but there's 3 books.
Oh, you got player's core?
Yeah, I got the player's core on the screen. There are 3 books. There is the player's core, the game master core, the GM core, and the monster core. And that replaced the core rulebook, the game mastery guide, and the bestiary, which they're both 2nd edition. The rules both work together. It's just one is under the open gaming license of that Dungeons and Dragons and Hasbro has.
And one of them is under Orc.
One of them is under the open RPG license or Orc. And it makes it really hard to make stuff for Pathfinder, because what license am I under now? What am I doing? So, yeah. And everything that was in the Game Mastery Guide is not in the GM core. There's a whole bunch of NPCs that are in the Game Mastery Guide that are not in the core that kind of tick me off, that I can't just drop.
I think I need to grab... I have the core, but I don't have it in PDF. I have it in physical copies. Give me a second. I'm going to grab the actual...
you can use the core rulebook to discuss these rules too. He's gone, guys. Now it's time to talk about him behind his back.
Either in there or it's behind you.
This is first edition.
So the 2nd edition is in there then.
2nd edition. And I thought I had the player core too.
It's like I just keep trying to tell you where I think it is.
Where?
I keep trying to tell you.
Very quiet. We can hear their lives going on. Where could it be?
All the books are.
Okay. GM core.
Do. So how have you been, chat? I'm happy to hear that.
So, here's the problem.
Yes.
I have the GM core
Yes.
and the core rulebook.
That's okay. You can use the core rulebook to discuss these rules. There's not a lot different between the player's core and the core rulebook. We're doing all right. We're doing all right. So I have both. I have the core rulebook.
We'll do it live.
I have the core rulebook and the player's core. I have everything in pocket form physically because they're better to hold, in my opinion. But hey, first off, let's talk about why they made a 2nd edition.
Okay,
because
let's do it.
When 2nd edition Pathfinder came out, I jumped on it. I was like, yeah, 2nd edition Pathfinder, because 1st edition is this clunky, overwrought, huge behemoth of a thing that's fundamentally broken because there are so many rules that have been added on top of itself that there's power scaling in it it's 1st edition Pathfinder. It's really hard to make a character, and it's really hard to understand what everything does because it's scattered amongst so many books. So 1st edition, I was like, clean slate, let's go. And then I bought it, and then I asked people, I was trying to find games, and I was trying to ask questions, and nobody was playing it. Everybody clung to 1st edition Pathfinder like it was their life thread, right? Like it was it was a life preserver. And that doesn't surprise me considering why people play Pathfinder in the first place.
Because they want that D&D third
Ex-
edition 3.5 with some errata feeling.
So
They're grognards holding on to that
the
past.
the people that when Dungeons and Dragons moved on from third edition was so beloved that there were so many people who still wanted to play it, and they all moved over to Pathfinder. And now Pathfinder is moving on, and they're still like and there are so many first edition games still out there. There's so many people still playing first edition. Johnny Rico,
Which is great. Like, if you love it, stay with it. But
yeah, sure.
things change, and don't be so resistant to growth.
Johnny Rico, I am Jon Snow when it comes to Pathfinder 2E. So you're a bastard? You're a bastard when it comes I guess that's what it means. So
Or maybe he's the Knight Commander. Is that what it is?
maybe.
He's secretly the guy behind the throne.
So was Pathfinder second edition, like I wrote in the title of this, is it an upgrade or is it a corporate move? And yeah, exactly. You're thinking about it, right? Because here's the thing. Pathfinder second edition, it needed an upgrade. He knows nothing.
Oh, great one. Okay.
So, Pathfinder second edition, it needed an upgrade. It really, really did. I stopped playing Pathfinder a long time, for a long time, because first edition was so overwrought, and
it was really hard to get new people into it. Me, trying to get people who had never played Pathfinder into Pathfinder and making sure that they had a good time while doing it was rough, because you had to teach them all of this like bloat knowledge that you needed to know in order to deal with that 3.5 mechanic. Like, if you've never had a 3.5, if you went from D&D 4th edition to Pathfinder, and your first edition or your first game was D&D 4th edition, you were going to be super lost with how much depth and how much customization and how much optimization needed to happen for you to feel as capable as the rest of the people at your table. And that was a problem.
So now they made second edition, and I think it's helpful. It's a better edition. We'll talk about that soon. But they also then made a second edition. Like I said, we have the core rulebook that you have, and then we have the player's core, which is on the screen right now. And one is under one license and the other is under another license. And why? Corporate maneuvering.
Because fuck you, WotC. That's why.
Wizards of the Coast decided to change the deal that was already out there under the Open Gaming license and tried to basically claw money out of everybody who's been supporting them for the longest of times.
And pray that they don't alter the arrangement further.
And so Pathfinder was like, you know what? We're going to make our open game license and make it even freer and better for everybody and everything involved.
And there's blackjack and hookers.
And you want to know something? This is a corporate maneuver. A really, I think they outmaneuvered Dungeons and Dragons.
It was ballsy. It was ballsy as hell. It was bold. It was a very bold decision to make. It did spur a ton of other indie RPG makers to also do the same thing and make their own open gaming license in perpetuity. It opened up a can of worms that I think makes the community better as a TTRPG fan, allowing many more voices and interpretations of things to come out. But it definitely was a corporate maneuver that was trying to outflank WotC and their refusal to allow people to use their system, their material.
For now, this is how I feel. Paizo's the publisher of Pathfinder, has a really great balance between supporting their fans and making sure that they have a good bottom line for their corporate ledgers. They're doing it pretty great. Will that change the future? I don't know. Corporations are evil, but
yeah.
for now,
But Paizo
Pathfinder.
has kind of always run as this kind of dualistic group where they started out as just a like campaign setting for D&D, right? And like they took that and ran with it and then become what they are by really embracing their community and trying to hear what they want.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's a long-term position of Paizo as a company, which I like. That's one of the reasons why I admire them a lot.
Paizo feels like the Costco of tabletop role-playing games.
Yes.
Johnny
Come and
Rico,
get all your rules in bulk.
Johnny Rico says, my biggest issue with Pathfinder 1E was people made their characters backwards. They would start at level 20 character concept and work backwards to 1 to make it come together. Yeah, it seems like every character you had to think at least 5 to 10 levels in the future on how you want your build to be, and nothing could be organic in the game. Nothing could spring forward because of circumstance or anything like that. Characters couldn't change. They were always going to go on this route because it was preordained, because that is what the meta wants you to build.
Yeah, it was the most optimal build process, right? And there were people like you and me who hated that kind of processing. You like tried to make something unique and creative with the system, but most people were just, here's the build. This is the build and how it's best going to work. It's the most optimal build, and we're going to play this game as though it is literally like a board game, and I need my perfect, board game miniature to do the things that I want to do. It was very lackluster when that happened, and a lot of times it was like completely unnecessary considering the content of like even the adventure paths did not require you to be that optimized, but the players around you wanted you to be that optimized, because if you didn't beat everything in the first, second, or third turn, then what are we even doing here? We're just wasting our time. That was more of like a player base phenomena than Paizo itself, but I agree. First edition had its problems with that.
So here's talk about second edition. Second edition, I'm gonna say this straight up. Because we'll talk about the mechanics first, and then we'll go into character creation and character stuff. I'm going to say straight up, though, right off the bat, they took Star Wars. They took this game,
Star Wars Saga Edition.
Star Wars Saga Edition. This game right here, and they just lifted it. It is almost the exact same game.
It was beautiful, though. Saga Edition was beautiful.
This game was amazing. It really was. And they fixed a couple things that was wrong with it. First off, skill checks, if you had a skill in it, it would be +5. In Pathfinder, it's just plus your proficiency bonus. That fixes so many things. Mm-hmm. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, they have class feats, general feats, and heritage feats. In here, you have talents, which are class feats, general feats, which are general feats, and you have feats that you can get in one of the supplemental books that are for races.
Your race, yeah.
They took this, but that's not bad because this was good.
They took the Star Wars Legacy, Star Wars Saga Edition Legacy, and brought it to a modern audience, right? They changed up how they were going to approach it, because they even took some cues from 5th edition D&D and learned from those things too. Yes. They really did a lot of research to try to bring this together and make something that was highly customizable, so that you could make whatever kind of character you want. It doesn't matter. You can, if you can dream it, you can make it in Pathfinder 2nd edition, and it's super modular. So at each level, you feel like you're doing something, you're accomplishing something, and the progression feels great. And that's what Saga Edition brought to the table back then.
Saga Edition also had great action economy. You got 3 actions in Saga Edition. Mm-hmm. You got your swift action, your move action, and your attack action. In Pathfinder 3rd edition or 2nd edition, how many actions do you have? 3.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, I love the action economy side of this, that you have 3 actions, you can do whatever the fuck you want with those 3 actions. And doesn't matter. There's not the move bonus action, regular action. It's just you got 3 actions. Everything is an action. Everything has builds upon actions. Go at
So
it.
we're going into game mechanics now. So the 3 actions, great. Some actions cost more than 1 action slot to do. So it may take a full round. It may take all 3. It may take 2, depending on how like the ability that you're using or the skill that you're using, how it necessitates you use it, which is fine.
It might
it's
not
great.
even take any. It might not even take any.
Some are a reaction, and they have a symbol system that makes it. Once you understand the symbol system, it's really intuitive. You can just look at something, and go, "Oh, that." The thing is in the beginning, like I know a lot of players that are just like, "Oh, there's a thing.
Mean?
That's a thing that I'm supposed to pay attention to." Oh, but yeah,
I thought it was just a mark. Yeah,
and that's a lot of Pathfinder is they are making their own terminology and symbolism and stuff like that. And if you're a casual RPGer, Pathfinder, I don't think Pathfinder is good for the casual RPGer. I think it's for people who are like gonna be all in. They're gonna lock in Pathfinder, and this is their thing. And I'll show you more examples of that as we go along. But okay, let's start with the regular roll of your D20. So they did something special with this, and I think I know you know what I'm talking about, Tarek. Can you tell me if you like it or not? They have graduated successes and failures.
I actually, so I personally really love this. I really love graduated successes and failures, because like if I have a plus 20 to my check, right, let's just say hypothetically, and I roll a 1 in combat, it feels like shit to just automatically fail, even though I would totally hit the character in reality. And then just rolling a 20 when, you know, a DC to hit something is like, let's say 30, and just rolling a natural 20 being enough to just instantly bring me up, it always made no sense to me. But having these graduated, like graded levels of success and failures, this gradient allows you to have much more interesting, like dice play and role play encounters that will feel a lot more organic than just you have to break away from the 1 and 20 paradigm, you know.
So
but once you do, it feels a lot better.
Here's the thing. Under here it is, degree of success. What happens is, so people understand the rule that we're talking about. We can't listen. Tarek, I know you know what the rule is. They may not. If you're tuning in because you want to understand what Pathfinder is, we're gonna walk you through it. Graduated success or degree of success. In it, the better you roll on your die or the worse you roll on the die can affect the outcome. It's not just success or fail. So if you succeed by 10, you get a critical success. And if you fail by 10, you get a critical failure. You may also, though, get a critical failure from the natural 1 and natural 20. So if you do roll a 1 or 20, it also triggers. Yeah, I like it. I think it's great when you can roll plus 10 to the DC and get that critical, you know, just rolling a 20. Like if you have a lot of skill, if you're skillful enough, you should be able to hit that crit naturally, right?
Exactly.
That just makes sense.
Yeah, if this is the thing that you're spec'd to be really good at, it kind of sucks feeling like only 5% of the time, right?
Yeah.
Will you ever get to experience what it feels like to exceed expectations on a roll? And that being said, in D&D, in other systems, you can't critical succeed on a skill check or an ability check. You can only critically succeed on an attack roll, right? It's the only time it really matters.
Yep.
And you can only critical fail on attack roll.
And here,
so
every roll,
bringing this out into every roll, making it so that any skill you can do something spectacular on, and then they have examples, like hard rule examples on what that could look like immediately, so that it's not just on the GM to come up with it. There's reasonable expectations for how you can manage a critical roll in any scenario.
Oh,
which is
Karen,
nice.
can I take a little time out here to tell everybody about City and Starlight?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
City and
let's do
Starlight.
it.
Click the backer kit link in the down there. It is Pathfinder rules, Pathfinder Second Edition rules under the ORC. So if you're looking for new content for it, I have it. But if you want to play it with Dungeons and Dragons rules, you can do that too, or Cypher rules, you can do that too. It's a good adventure. It's gonna have bespoke art. Yeah, it's like. It is a great way to support the channel.
Great.
You don't have to spend anything right now. You just have to follow it. Click the follow button, and I need 80 followers to start getting it live. So
it looks great. We really want to share it with the community and get this out there. Just take a look.
Yep.
See if you'd like to follow, and yeah, let's get this one moving.
Okay, so moving on. The thing with Pathfinder 2nd Edition is most of the rules are uniform. I don't think there's very many ununiform rules out there. You roll a d20, you add your bonuses, which is your stat, and if you're proficient in it, if you have the skill for it, or if you can add your proficiency bonus. And that's basically it for pretty much everything. It's good. I like the fact that there is this standardization through everything. There's a couple rules that I don't like, and that is when you aid somebody, you have to make a roll. You have to make a roll to aid them, and then you only give them like a +1 or a +2. It's really.
Yeah. I think it's +1 normally and +2 if you critically succeed.
It's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like it almost makes it not worth it.
I kind of agree with you on that one. So the thing I like about the check system too is the proficiencies, right? The untrained, trained, expert, mastery, legendary. Those proficiencies make it feel more like a clearer gauge of where your character's like skill set is, what it defines them as. I like that feeling. It feels like you're seeing the progress even more.
And when your skill,
that it applies to
when your skill goes up to these different mastery levels, it can affect feats that work off those skills and make those feats
everything
better.
Exactly. They synergize with everything, every part of your character's development. Your feats, your skills, your ancillary kind of traits like your initiative, your perception, all these things are all based on around even your AC, defense, and stuff like that. It's interesting. It's a very interesting approach to it. I do agree that helping is the one thing that kind of falls off here. You'd think that there'd be a more in tune way of doing that kind of assistance, but there are like skill feats and stuff that will help you to make those bonuses better. But at a baseline, they're kind of weak.
So
it's like that friend you asked to help you and who's like sitting there with you and not coming up with any ideas, but they're just like sitting there keeping you entertained for a while. Like, okay, that's a +1 to my morale checks for what I'm actually trying to do, but they're not really contributing much to the actual project.
So here's another place where casual gamers and the Pathfinder people are kind of different, and that is with these actions. So like I said, there are these different symbols. This is the action icon key, and this is what an action looks like, and then 2, and then 3, and a reaction and a free action. And then you go down to the list of basic actions, and they are long and comprehensive. They are like sense motive. This is how you do it. This is how you're going to sense somebody's motive. See if they're lying. Strike. This is exactly how you strike. This is how you step. This is how you stride. Or how movement works. All in these actions. Taking cover. Arresting fall. If you are falling and you have a fly speed, you can arrest it. If you didn't know that this existed over here, you're never going to think of it. Avert gaze. Like, there are rules specifically for averting your gaze. And I know some people are going to be like, yes, finally, there's a definitive way for me to tell people how you do, like, if you dismiss a spell, there's an action for it and an exact process. And some people are going to be like, yes. And other people are going to be like, as a game master, I just want to riff and go and move. And why I have to follow all of these like exacting rules for all of this?
The perfect example of that is raise a shield. The raise a shield action. You do not, even if you have a shield equipped, you do not gain the benefits of the shield AC bonus unless you take the raise a shield action. To literally put it in the way, which I like. I get why. It's because defending yourself with a shield is an active thing. You're not just sitting there with a shield on your arm doing whatever else you want to do, and everybody's just hitting the shield and not you. Like, no, you have to move it into position and keep it, controlled, keep it bound.
This is going to piss. You can see how this pisses people off, though. It's going to be like, okay, I rolled this armor class. And it's like, well, it didn't hit. I mean, did you raise your shield? What? What's this BS about me? Come on, guys.
I don't have to raise a shield in D&D. In D&D, I just have to have it strapped to my hand, and apparently it'll do whatever I want it to do.
Come on, Game Master. What? Oh, jeez. Oh.
You're just trying to screw me over and make extra rules and make it harder. Yeah. Of course. Until they get used to the system and they're like, oh, the GM didn't raise their shield on their turn, so now the AC is easier for me to hit. And bloom, 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 bloom. Oh, and flanking, we're going to have Jim Bob get behind the DM's character. Now I get an even bigger bonus. They're flat-footed. I'm stabbing them. Boom. Like, once you get used to it, it feels a lot more freeing because there's so many things that you can do and you know what they are.
Like I said,
they are not, there's no like, the GM pulls it out of their butt to make up a rule there. There's rules. You know them. GM knows them. Keep moving.
The casuals are going to hate Pathfinder. The guys who are locked in that love this kind of gaming are going to love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree.
Also, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. You can get 3 actions a round. That means you can attack potentially 3 times a round. They
came up with a reason why it's harder to do that.
Every time you attack, I think it's -5 or minus. I think it's -5.
I think it's -5. It's +5 to your ace to the AC every time you do it.
So I mean that's fine. But
there's ways to get that lower too. Like if you wanted to play I make multiple attacks a turn kind of person, you can do that. It is not that hard. It's some feet. Take some feet investments. And you'll be seeing less penalty for doing that.
That's it.
And it's also only with consecutive melee attacks or like consecutive weapon attacks. If you change it up and stab them with one thing and then send a spell with a saving throw attached to it, you don't have that penalty.
So I played a gunslinger in one game. I'm still playing that character. And the thing is during gameplay, it takes an action to reload, which I know in a lot of games, that's not going to be a problem. I mean, that's like nothing. In some games like Warhammer, it takes like 60 rounds to reload. one round. One action to reload. So like, I guess you have cartridges and that's how I say it. It's like I replace my cartridge. And that means I can at most get 2 attacks a round. But since it's only my second attack, even though it's my third action, it's still only a -5. It's not a -10.
Yeah, because you've only taken 2 attacks.
That's such a saving grace. It's just like, if it's my third action, it's a -10. No, only your third attack.
Attack action.
So you can attack, move, and attack and only get a -5 instead of a -10.
Yeah, which could be even lower if you have an agile weapon, or if you do something like shoot. I shoot a pistol at them the first action. I hit them with a spell to slow them down and make their AC worse, and then I shoot them again, and now my second attack is only a -5, even though I hit you with 3 different things. You know what I mean? 3 different actions.
Would you like to talk about death?
Death is fun. Yeah, let's talk about death. Let me get to the death section in. Is
Damage
it under
tags, hit points,
afflictions
healing,
or
and
damage? There you go.
dying.
On my side, so you take damage, right?
So
Damage is damage,
hit
just like
no
normal.
no
You
no
take hit
no
points.
no. Hit points aren't meat points. Are they meat points? Because it seems like you don't really take a hit until you get to 0, and then you're hit and you're down. It says, let's see what it says for here, right here. All creatures have hit points. It represents your health, wherewithal, and heroic drive. So it's kind of meat points and it's kind of not. They're splitting the baby here. They're like, it's whatever you want it to be. It's whatever you want it to be. That way, when a snake hits you, you still have to make a poison check because
it bit your toes.
Yeah, it's
it sunk its nail.
I have 50 hit points. The snake did 1 hit point, but I still have to save versus poison. I guess it didn't hit my heroic drive every single time.
Yeah.
Oh, my heroic drive!
Oh God, no. What do I keep it here for? Nobody ever goes after my heroic drive.
But
only my meat.
When you go to 0, you 100% get hit and you get knocked out. You get knocked out. Yes. Right?
Unless it's a non-lethal, but even then you get knocked out.
You gain the dying 1 condition.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next?
You slip closer and closer to death.
When you have the dying condition, you're bleeding out. If you ever reach dying 4, you die. Right? So, if you lose the dying condition, if it ever reaches dying 0, you're still at 0 hit points. You remain unconscious, but you can't wake up. If you have 1 hit point or more, you wake up. Every turn you're dying, you can make a recovery check. Uh-oh, he's gone. Oh, no. Yep, Tarek's internet lost. So I'm just going to explain to you, since we're still live, how this works. Every turn, you make a recovery check. It's at the start of each of your turns. It is a DC 10 plus your current dying value to see if you get better or worse. You roll a d20 and you see if you get more than 10 plus your dying value. If you succeed, your dying value is reduced. If it fails, it's increased. And if you ever reach dying 4, you die. If you get dying 0, you are stabilized. And that's basically it.
And then you take wounded. Can you hear me again?
Yes, I can hear you again.
Okay. So yeah, I was bringing up wounded. I don't know how much you heard about that before.
None of
everything
it. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So when you like come back from a state of dying, you gain the wounded trait, which I really, really enjoy, showing that you have been wounded by the experience that you just went through, and that value. The condition comes with like a value like wounded 1, wounded 2. If you gain the condition value, increase the dying conditions value by your wounded value. So the next time you're dropped, right? The next time you fall unconscious, whatever, somebody stabs you in the chest, you, instead of going to just dying 4 or dying 2, you go to dying whatever plus the value of your previous wound value. And that becomes your new total dying value, which makes it harder to get back up and into the fight, and also potentially could throw you over into actual player character death pretty easily. So it makes the idea of going down below your like 0 line much more of a focus in players' minds. Because in places like D&D, where you can just get dropped over and over and over again, maybe you get an exhaustion if your GMs are like implementing a homebrew world, but otherwise you just drop and get back up and drop and get back up and drop and get back up and have no problems. You're just instantly back into perfectly working form, with this kind of rule set, it makes it much more dramatic. It makes it much more tense. It makes it more tactical. You want to think about whether you're going to even want to like just stabilize your friend and not bring him back up so that they're not getting these wounded reactions, and then how much can you heal before the enemy's going to kill them. It really adds a layer of tension and depth to the entire HP mechanic, and the brings in this kind of death spiral, but it's not a death spiral because your character is no longer good at doing things. It's a death spiral of make sure you don't go back down, because the more you go down, the faster you're going to
it
spiral
might
to
encourage
death.
people to retreat, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll make you play more tactically, more carefully.
Okay, character creation, because I think we got through most of the points about the main rules, right? Unless there's anything you want to... I think we're good.
I think we're good, yeah.
Let's talk about character creation, starting with heritages. Instead of race, they have heritage. I think that's a fine way to call them.
Ancestries, too. They refer to them as ancestry sometimes.
Oh, ancestries? Or is that what it is?
Yeah, ancestries.
Yeah, halfling heritage, ancestry feats. Okay. So here's one of my things that I don't like about this. You have ancestry feats, general feats, class feats. Everything is a feat. And when you say, like, usually you just say, oh, what kind of feat did you get? Or what you can get a new feat. Now you have to be very specific on what kind of feat. I would much rather these not have the word feat connected to them. I think general feats should just be called feats. I think the heritage, the ancestry feats, you can just call them ancestries. And
I like ancestry features. Feature
that could be fine
it's
too.
It's a feature.
give
Ancestries give you features,
and instead of class feats, call them talents, like they did in Star Wars Saga. Calling everything a feat is a little confusing.
Or even class related feats just being called techniques. These are techniques you've learned from your class.
That's all fine. I just don't like calling everything the same.
And they can all act like feats, and the character sheet and all that stuff still. Just the naming needs to be changed to something that's more differentiated.
Yeah, because
they can still slot into your character sheet the way that they do now.
It's hard to talk about different kinds of feats to players, and and them understanding what I'm trying to say to them. Because everything gets jumbled up in a lot of players' brains. As you can see, I play with a lot of people who are more casual, and they don't care about this kind of minutia stuff, right? Because I'm in a Pathfinder game with Howard and Sarah and a bunch of other people who they're very much more casual players. They really all of this stuff goes over their head, and they aren't really willing to learn because they just want stuff to work. They rely on their game master to put the action forward. And Pathfinder is not that game. It's just not that game. But that said, I like the fact that as you go up in level, you get more cool ancestry feats.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a halfling,
more interesting stuff comes out from your heritage.
Yes.
Or like influences how your even physiology or whatever will work. And the fact that doesn't just affect your first level, it can affect so many more levels than that. 5, 10, 9, level 13, you still probably have some stuff to get from your ancestry still, which is nice. Like D&D and games like that usually only have something that hits you on your first level. Maybe by 5th level you have a secondary ability that you get, and then who cares after that? You're being a elf no longer matters in your life.
Ooh, Leshy. And there's some new races here, Leshy.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool ones.
Um,
The Poppet,
the
too.
Poppet.
There's like a,
Yeah, people like
and then
Poppets.
the Flesh Maid. I like
But
the Flesh
these
Dwarf or whatever.
aren't these in other books? Like you got the Changeling
They
here,
were. They
Nephilim,
were in other.
but I think the ones you're talking about are from different books, and we'll get to the different books. We'll talk
Yeah,
about
there are a bunch.
we'll
of
talk
different.
about how this game is supported.
By the way, I wanted to show off.
Oh, I need to put out new shirts. I need to put out new
Yeah.
shirts. Okay. Let's talk about, so you also get a background.
Yep.
You don't have to do that weird stuff from Pathfinder First Edition where you either get plus extra hit points a level or skill level. Gone is the weirdness. Gone is what are they called? The stuff you put on top, your archetypes. Gone is that crap. Gone.
Which I'm a little sad about, but whatever.
I hated
They're
it.
broken down in a different way now. They're still
Yes.
there. They're just hidden.
They're just part of your class now. You just gain the different feats that
Yeah,
you
you just
want.
choose which path you want, and you can customize and kind of pick and choose more easily. I like it.
So yeah, you got different muses for your bard. You have different, like everybody has different kind of subclasses already in there, and new books will have new kind of these subclasses, which is like your
But
archetypes.
in the way of feats, yeah, these new feats that you can add in,
Yes.
basically to each time. And there's also the opportunity of like, oh, I'm a bard, but I want to be a badass swordsman, so I just take some feats from the fighter, and now I get a couple badass swordsman skills.
Is I think is pretty good in this, which is
I like it.
all you do is you keep your regular class, and instead you take some feats from a different class.
Yeah, they're modified slightly because you're not getting the full class benefits, but they're still they're still functional and functionally similar.
And most of these
class.
feats and abilities and everything you get is straightforward and understandable, except for spell casting, which I hate. Yeah.
I love spellcasting in the game.
So the spells are fine. I like the spells themselves, but how you get those spells and how you level up and the number of spells you get is confusing as
What are
so
focus
confusing.
spells? How do I deal with? Yeah, there's a lot.
So let me go to cleric here because I played a cleric, so I kind of know this one a bit. So you get your regular spells per day, but then you also get your divine font, and then you can also get, there's one more other type of spell that you can get, and they all work at the exact same time, but they have different like your spells per day is different from your healing font, which is another group of spells that are healing spells that you can only do certain amount of days. And then there's what's it called? The ritual spell, or there's one last kind of spell.
A focus spell?
The focus spell. And you can only do that a certain number of times a day too, but a focus spell and a healing spell, you can use those spells as your regular spells too. Tarek, why is it so complicated? I hate it.
Yeah, it can get pretty significantly convoluted with spellcasting because they have so many different approaches to how they want to do your like cantrips, how they want to do your leveled spells, how they want to do heightened spell effects, and then your like a focus spell is kind of like your specialization spell, like this one spell that grows and does more cool stuff, but you can only use a certain number of times per day. That's supposed to be more like focused around what your class is and what your kind of archetype is, to give you a little boost. And a lot of spellcasting classes have that feature, that kind of, they're called different things in different.
They are called different things in different, but every spellcasting class has different spell category bubbles that sometimes overlap and sometimes don't. I've built wizards. I've built it. These things are extremely confusing and needs to be streamlined. I don't know why they did this. Um, it feels extremely clunky, and yeah, it can be confusing. It's like, did you mark off that spell? Yeah. No, you marked off. You did. That was a focus spell, so you had to mark off the. Oh yeah, I marked off the other. Okay, I'm sorry. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get confused, and
And now you gotta balance everything.
I think this game is great, and I make sure, like, I'm that kind of guy who's like looking at all of the actions and seeing what I can do and like trying to figure out the best way to use those actions. I'm that kind of guy, and I get confused by spells, and so I have stopped playing spellcasters.
Yeah, which is sad because spellcasting is always fun for me. But I get it when it's so confusing, and each different character who gets any kind of touch of spell in this game is going to make it a little bit more confusing for them to play because they have so much more to keep track of at that
Yeah.
point.
So
Um,
here's Witch. Witch has your regular spells per day. Then they have, of course, their cantrips, their hex spells, and they have their focus.
yep, and they're familiar.
And they're familiar. Yeah. It's
Yeah, a lot to keep
it's a
track
lot.
of.
It's so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you like that kind of thing, more power to you. I would rather this be very streamlined and more. I'm sure they're like, we want every kind of witch to feel special and different and unique. And that's kind of why they did it, to make everybody kind of feel like their witch or cleric or is kind of their own. But
Mm-hmm.
there's gotta be a better way. I mean, in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, you get your spells per day, and that's it. And nobody has felt like every single wizard has been a carbon copy of another wizard, even though that could probably be the case. Everybody feels like their wizard or their cleric is theirs. And
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But I've never heard anybody say that. But
I mean, if you look at Wizard at first level is so confusing because you have your arcane bond, you have your cantrips, you have your first level spells, you have your arcane thesis, which is an approved familiar attunement or metamagic experimentation, or spell blending or spell substitution. You have to know what all of those different things do and what the
Arcane
benefit
School,
of having them in your
Arcane
class. Like, and then it just keeps going because now you have to understand, each of those different wizard feats and how they scale at each level, what they're going to be doing better for you, where your spell, like what spells you're, because you have the largest spell list on any class. So now you have to learn how many spells and how do you add them to your spell list and what are they going to be used for. And so it's a daunting procedure for anyone getting into Pathfinder Second Edition, but I'd argue as well that while it is complicated, other systems are equally, or perhaps not to the same level, but are equally complicated for people who are new to understand. Like
there
once
are
you
systems.
get into spellcasters,
There are
it's
systems
difficult.
that are equally as complicated as Pathfinder Second Edition.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mhm.
I will also say the same things about those systems.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
I mean,
why.
I'm not disagreeing that it is a lot. It can be challenging to keep track of.
I have a thing that I simply like systems that are very simple at their core and should be as you play them, the difficulty increases as you learn
Yeah,
as you go. And it shouldn't be front loaded. And like if
low
making a
barrier
wizard,
to entry, high skill ceiling.
so if I were to make these classes, I would, if you were going to have these different kinds of spell groups, I would start you out with just your spells per day. And then maybe at level 3, I give you your, like your different thing, your arcane school or your, witch hex spells or your, and then as you go, you get those gradually adding in more rules as you level up. So when a character, when you're a player, you kind of build into this. But that also, like, when that happens, because D&D 5th edition does that, and you'll hear players go, oh, we start at level 3 or level 5 because that's when it gets interesting anyways, and who wants to play those first couple levels?
Yeah.
You know, have you heard that from people?
I have, yeah.
Because 5th edition builds characters up like that, and they want to get into the meat of it. So, I mean, maybe it disincentivizes people to play from first level if you do it like that. But, I mean, then just play it. The solution is just play at a higher level if your group has that skill cap, already meets that skill cap, that, you know, that skill curve.
I mean, like I said, it's take skill to master, low barrier of entry. That's the best kind of combo. You have a very low barrier of entry to get your basics out of the way, and then everything else is a skill mastery curve that you need to develop in order to hang at the higher tiers of play.
And
that's all on the player.
To Pathfinder's credit, the base of this game is very solid. It's got a good core rules to it, and a good, like, roll a d20, add the things, make the DC, plus 10 you get a critical, minus 10 you get a... That's perfection. That is
super
so
simple.
good and so simple that I can't help but say, good job. You did it.
Like, great job. You've simplified down these rules to the point where pretty much anyone can follow them.
And every roll works like that. Every roll works like that. Other than damage, which is other dice. But otherwise, every roll is this d20. Great. Perfect. Yeah. I love it. Mart the Sling says, you would love Hollow Earth Expedition system. Simple, fun. I probably would.
Yeah.
But yeah, is there any other part of, like, the players stuff that you'd like to talk about? Spell? Do you have a favorite spell? I have a favorite spell.
There's a few different spells that I like. I find that there are some that are like really, really like kind of overpowered, and there are some that are like, you know, pretty just normal skills.
While you're looking up that spell, that one spell, I'll tell you mine, which of course is Vomit Spiders or Vomit Swarm.
That's a great
I love it. It's basically summon animal or summon creature, but like you vomit it up, and it's a swarm. It comes out of your mouth, and even though it comes like, this is my child that I have created, and they do what you say. Well, you can tell them which direction to go, and like, go attack in this direction. Where is it? Vomit Swarm. Where are you? Vitality Lash. Is it under focus spells now? I don't know. Anyways, Vomit Swarm, my freaking favorite spell. What do you got?
I really like something like Baleful Polymorph, where you can give minor features to people about like oh, you're annoying me, so I'm gonna give you cat ears for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? Like, they're like harmless little animal changes.
That's fun. That's so much fun. Features. I love it.
Yeah, it's a low. Well, it's actually kind of a high level spell, but it's still like great for just being petty. I think it's pretty awesome. I also think that the idea of swapping spells, or like making a difference between spells and rituals in a meaningful way, is interesting, instead of like in D&D where it's just like some spells can be rituals because they're like, we don't expect you to be able to cast these in fucking combat anyway, so they become a ritual spell. They just get a ritual tag. In Pathfinder, they actually have a whole section of spells that are just ritual spells, that are really awesome. There's a lot of really interesting ones, like Awaken Object, Animate Object, Awaken Animal, Commune, Spirit Call, Consecrate. Um, One of my favorites always is Chaos. And then Legend Lore, Planar Ally, Planar Binding, Plant Growth, Resurrect. Like these are all things that are much more like costly. They take a long time to set up. You can make like a whole like encounter or set of encounters based around trying to like complete these rituals. I really like the idea of those things staying in a ritual tag. That's all their own. These kind of spells are literal. You have to be able to learn these rituals, and then you have to invest time, energy, money to get that to go off. I really like that idea.
Oh, what did I do? I'm sorry, guys. I did something.
You did the thing.
I did a thing that was wrong.
Yeah.
I'll put it back to where it was. I didn't think that was going to happen. Okay, it's back. Okay. Any other things? Any other things? We talked about some skill stuff. We didn't talk about equipment, but I don't think there's much to talk about there.
I mean, equipment is actually really good. I love the way that they did equipment in this game. It makes for a lot more variety, a lot more like flexibility. Like the whole mantra for Pathfinder Second Edition is really how much freedom can we give the players to really create.
They gave all of their weapons traits, all of their weapons and armor traits, and
everything has
you can
a purpose.
Just pull. Everything is a little bit different. And even like lower weapons have something going for them.
Yeah, I mean, everything has a reason.
Yeah,
you can make use of just about anything in that equipment section.
Exactly.
Weapons, armor, ranged weapons, ammunition, like everything has a purpose.
So
even just traveling equipment, like the regular equipment stuff, has a reason. Like that's something that they kept over from old Pathfinder First Edition. There's just gear that has really invaluable utility to
I
it
love
that
it.
you're going to want.
I think it's great. I love what they did with the equipment section.
Yeah.
Like, no notes here for that. So let's talk about how they've, like, we could go into the Game Master Guide or the GM Core, or we could go into the Monster and talk about that. But I think because it's about an hour in, and I think we need to just talk about how they are supporting this product going forward. And I have to say, out of every role-playing game company, they support it like freaking crazy. There is so much out there. So much.
Oh, yeah. They work with third parties too.
I don't think it's been in the same amount of time that this game has been out. Other games may have like 4 or 5 supplements. I think this game came out around the same time as Legend of the Five Rings, and this thing has a bazillion books.
Oh yeah, and adventure modules, and the Pathfinder Society modules, and play mats, and character cards, and miniatures, and like everything. This thing has massive.
They have different lines like Lost Omens, or like it's there's so much. How do you guys keep up with it all? Oh my goodness! If you're a Pathfinder fan, your cup runneth over. And they have their club, their Pathfinder Society club, which is amazing. They are really good with it, and I am duly impressed.
And Starfinder, and I think they have a Starfinder Society.
Yeah, Starfinder as well. I mean, good God, they must be making good money doing this. Otherwise, why would they continue to come out with all of these products?
And they partner with some great people in the third party community to keep things interesting as well. Instead of just like outsourcing everything to the third parties, they work with them to come up with information and content that would work for their world in a way that people like WotC just haven't figured out how to do.
Good job, Paizo. I mean, across the board. I mean, I have come up with things that I don't like about this game, but I don't think any of those are deal breakers. Like I said,
Take
it's
the
not
time to teach your friends. It's going to take them a little bit of time to get into it, but once they do, you will have a bunch of grognards at your table that are
exactly.
ripping at.
You'll turn a filthy casual into a grognar in no time with this game.
Yeah, 3 weeks flat. They're gonna have the neck beard. I don't care if it's a woman. She's gonna have a neck beard. She's gonna have Mountain Dew Baja Blast at the table. She's gonna be rules calling. She's gonna be doing all the call outs. You're gonna wipe the table with your GM's next encounter. It's gonna be beautiful.
So I'm on Blue Sky and Mastodon, and this week I posted that when you add firearms to a fantasy game, they take over in no time. You'll have at least one character always at the table with firearms when you introduce firearms, if not two or at least every character having a gun on them at some point in time.
Everyone's carrying a Glock.
Yeah, it just happens. And I think that takes away something from a fantasy game, but it's something Pathfinder has embraced. It's not in the main book. If you can just play this main book and the fantasy games that come along with it. But as soon as somebody discovers, hey, there's a book where you can play a gun person, suddenly that's all that the focus is going to be on. You know it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that is a good thing or a detriment. It does make this unique among fantasy games. I'll give it that. But yeah, if you just want a classic fantasy game, you're gonna have to deal with that one person who wants a gun, if not 2 or 3 people who are like, and you're gonna have to figure out a way to tell them no.
That's
if
hard.
You're gonna do a classical fantasy game. Otherwise, just make guns a thing, because it's gonna happen.
Yeah, either allow the floodgates to open, and hope that Paizo has scaled those values well enough so that other people who don't use guns will still feel relevant.
By the way,
or really set it up so that you're far out in Galarian to the point where you're not accessible to a lot of guns, so you have to make that stuff yourself. And if you're willing, you have a player who's willing to, I want to play a gunslinger, that's the only thing I want to play. Well, you better be willing to craft and do the things that you need to do to make that gun relevant for the duration of the campaign for yourself, because I'm not giving you handouts for it.
I just want to say it to the people on Blue Sky and Mastodon who engaged with me in that conversation. Thanks for that. Y'all are so... Some people are gun apologists, and they'll be like, well, yeah, of course, if you add a gun, it's going to take... that's what happened in real life. And I'm like, but I want to play a fantasy game. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. Other people are like, hey, in Warhammer Fantasy, it takes 60 rounds to reload. And I'm like, well, way to make a gun basically useless except for one shot. And they're like, well, that's like a spell. You cast your fireball and then you're done.
Yeah.
It's been a great conversation. I love it. Thank you all for participating in that. But let us... oh, yeah, we have to say our favorite thing about the game. What's our favorite... Tarek, what's your favorite thing about Pathfinder?
The flexibility, the ability that anyone can come in with a character concept in mind and make exactly that character through their feat system, their ancestries, their flexibility on ancestries and how you can get through it. Really, if you have a concept in mind, you can pretty much get to that exact concept. And I love that. I love that freedom of creativity. I love the support that they have in there. It's great.
Okay. For me, it's vomiting spiders. I want to vomit spiders all day, every day. I know there's a lot of other things. Like I like the crit system. But I mean, come on. I want to have fun. Vomiting spiders is fun. Let's put it on our tier list. Pathfinder 2nd edition. It's somewhere between A and B.
For me, it's somewhere between S and A. So I'm saying maybe A.
I think A too. I think Pathfinder 2nd edition is an A tier game, because Pathfinder 1st edition is B tier, and Pathfinder 2nd is a marked improvement.
Yeah, I think so too.
So yeah, A tier game. A tier game.
A tier game. I love it.
If you guys, if anybody out there disagrees,
we didn't even get into the social mechanics or the we didn't even get a chance to go into the social mechanics, the faction mechanics, there is so much more to this game system than meets the eye at first glance. There is so much you can do with it. Oh my god, I love it. I love it. It has narrative scenes, it has encounter scenes, it has downtime scenes, chase scenes. Like, you could do so much with this game in so many different ways. We didn't even have a chance to get over all of that information.
Yeah.
But it's there.
1 hour is just
Beautiful.
not enough to cover it all. But we covered a whole, but I think we covered like the best parts of the game.
Yeah.
The parts
true.
people most care about. And I
core,
think we gave it a pretty
aspects,
fair rating here. But if you disagree, or if you do agree, give us a comment. Tell us what we did right and wrong.
Shout us out. Come join the Discord. Let's have a talk about it.
Yeah. Mark the Sling says 7C. 7C? 7C has firearms
baby,
too.
7C.
7C has, I think it was talking about firearms and 7C.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for joining us. Sign up to help City and Starlight.
City
please.
and Starlight.
City and Starlight, yeah. And
join the Discord, talk to us about it. Maybe we'll have some behind the scenes content revealed there. Maybe.
Oh yeah, and there are free adventures there. There is Party Crashers, which is free, that you can pick up on the page for following City and Starlight.
Yeah.
And
or check
there's
out
a version
the Patreon
there
as well.
There's a version there for Pathfinder 2nd edition. So yeah, I made Party Crashers for Pathfinder 2nd edition under the ORC. Complete under the ORC.
It's orked.
Hey, tell me how it is too. Like I'd love to hear other people's opinions on these games. But until then, we're gonna be doing Legend of the Five Rings tonight. So join us then for Shadow Empire. From Tarek and myself, go roll some dice.